I'm just going to tell you a story. And it's the tale, really, of the realisation of a dream. I mean, something that we all have. And I think one of the great challenges is actually to make those dreams happen. And not unpredictably, my dream was to reach the summit of Everest. And it took quite a few goes before I finally got there. Everest itself, of course, first climbed back in 1953 by Sherpa, Tenzing Norgay and Ed Hillary on the expedition led by Colonel John Hunt, become Lord Hunt, and in fact become my mentor very much and a close friend. And they, of course, climbed Everest by the South Col route, up here and then on up this ridge, the route by which these days, I mean, literally hundreds of people climb it or attempt to climb it every year. But the great challenge of the early 1970s, which when I came into its story, was its huge southwest face. And here was a challenge that was actually bringing the most difficult kind of climbs in the Alps, the north wall of the Eiger, onto the highest mountain on Earth. It was a completely different dimension. And a whole series of expeditions tried and failed. There was the Japanese expedition in 1970. There was an international expedition in 1971. There was a European expedition in 1972. And they were all stopped by roughly the same place, this wall of rock, the rock band that stretched across. And they hadn't worked out either how to climb it or really the logistic planning needed to actually do it. And it was a challenge that I really wanted to meet. And I got my chance in the autumn of 1972. It was a big challenge because no one had ever climbed an 8,000 metre peak, let alone Everest, in the post-monsoon season. Most expeditions go there pre-monsoon, round about May, when the weather is much more clement. But in those days, the Nepalese government only allowed one expedition on the mountain at a time, and the only booking we could get was the autumn of 1972. So we were going totally into the unknown. And we didn't succeed, we failed. But we learnt an awful lot on that first attempt. And I think one of the first lessons I learned there was that one should never, ever be afraid of failure. In fact, I think any organisation or anyone, if you're afraid of failure, you never get anywhere. You've actually got to stretch limits, and inevitably at times you don't make it. But you learn from the mistakes you made. And then I had my next attempt in the autumn of 1975, and learning those lessons, we went slightly earlier, we moved faster, we had better logistics, better planning, and all of those things gave us success, and we made the first ascent to the southwest face of Everest in the expedition that I led. It was Doug Scott and Dougal Haston that reached the top, but I didn't go there myself. And in a way, it wasn't my role to do so. My role was to make the expedition work. My role was to actually get those people up there. But I still wanted to go. I had another opportunity in 1982, and this time we went to the north side of Everest. We tried to make the first ascent of the entire northeast ridge of Everest. The standard route by which it's climbed today and by which Mallory and Irvine attempted it way back in 1924 is up this buttress here, joining halfway up and then on across. This ridge proved to be phenomenally hard. And we attempted it as a very small team. There were just 4 of us. Sadly, 2 good friends of mine lost their lives in that attempt, Peter Boardman and Joe Tasker. I still hadn't got to the top of Everest, and at that point, I didn't think I'd ever go back to Everest again. Losing friends, you never take it easily.